nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my sword in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fight mightily.
Waiting on Yahweh Shai. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady learning.
Khan. Call on Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Hamashiach, Womalak Yahushai, for another blessed, mighty new moon, Ashar Kadash Yarak. All my Israelites keeping this dark moon, this dark new moon. All praise to the Most High God Yahweh. Tonight, I'm going to go ahead and get this Manna Mondays kicked off with the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. I want to touch on Isaiah 56. Isaiah 56. Let me get my screen shared, Lord willing. Isaiah 56 chapter. Man, salvation is only for Israel, y'all. And it's a beautiful thing to really reflect on that, what that means. That's even too great for me to understand all of the time. And not understand in the sense of not comprehend what it means, but it's difficult to comprehend the depths, right, of the mercy of Yahweh and just his favor towards Israel, you know, his statutes, his laws, commandments, his judgments, right? Isaiah 56:1. Thus saith the Lord, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is near to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Now, nobody has seen the full righteousness of the Most High, right? You're not going to see that until we get into the kingdom. Not that the Most High is unrighteous in any way, or not that the Most High is yet to display his full righteousness. His righteousness is always on full display, but our ability to comprehend it, right? That's the deep mystery. Thus said the Lord, keep ye judgment. The house of Israel, y'all, we got to keep judgment. We have to keep his judgments on our mind, the statutes, the commandments, the ordinances, right? We have to be in an active seat of righteousness. When you think about a judge, when you go into a court, that judge is supposed to sit in the seat of unbiased righteousness, but he doesn't. You know, judges get bought out, they corrupt, they take bribes, you know, they do certain things for votes, they have political constituents and affiliations and business relationships that dictate how they go about their judgment. We don't want to be that way. You know, as the children of Israel, we want to be righteous at all costs. And righteousness is not always easy to achieve. I struggle with it every day, right? But in that struggle, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, I'm able to overcome it bit by bit, trial by trial, tribulation by tribulation. So when it says, for my salvation is near to come, this is not Isaiah prophesying the words of the Most High, talking about salvation for all of the nations. This salvation that is near to come and my righteousness to be revealed, this is going into Israel. Let me get this Baruch 4:24. All right, let's prove that. Let's get the mighty book of Baruch, one of my favorite books, 4:24. It's Baruch chapter 4:24, right? So all of the neighbors of Zion will see the salvation of Israel. All right, all of the neighbors, they're going to see the salvation of Israel. All of the nations around all of the Israelites who don't keep the law, statutes, and commandments, all of the scoffers, all of those who even partially believe, those who believed at once but got their candle blown out. All of them are going to be able to see the salvation that the Most High God has preordained from the beginning of the world, right? So when you go into this Baruch, like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they shortly, Salaki, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our God, which shall come upon you with great glory and brightness of the everlasting. So you got to keep in your mind that salvation is only for Israel. And salvation is nearer than when we first believed. We see that in the book of Romans. I'm going to get that real quick. Let me open a new tab. In the book of Romans, I believe I want the 13, 11, bam. Romans 13 and 11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. Now, what does it mean when it say it is high time? Doesn't mean it's time to get high. Doesn't mean it's time to smoke weed. It's high time. That means it's at the height of the prophecies, starting to unfold, starting to manifest. And it's that time for you to wake out of sleep. Think about the night, right? When it says the night is far spent, right? I'm going to get this real quick. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. Now, this is a similitude, y'all. Think about how the world is framed, how the Most High created two great lights, one that govern the day and one that govern the night. You got the sun, you got the moon. So it comes a time in time, right, where the moon is risen and it's dark outside. But then that dark gradually fades and the sun starts to rise. And as the sun begins to rise, the night and the dark begins to fade and dissipate, right? That's why it says the night is far spent, which means the time to be living in darkness and wickedness and sin and evilness, the time is over for that, y'all. That time is passing, it's fading away. In the time of righteousness, by Shema Mashiach Wamalak Yahushai, is beginning to rise on the earth. Where the sons of God are beginning to reveal themselves in these last days. The daughters of Zion are beginning to stand up, adorn themselves in modest apparel, abstain from all whoredom, be renewed in the spirit of their mind, change their approach, right? Not walking according to the ways that they used to walk on earth. This is how and what it means when it says the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light, right? So back to this Baruch. Like as now the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, so shall they see shortly your salvation from our God, which shall come upon you with the great glory and brightness of the everlasting. So these are things that we have to keep in memory, y'all. We gotta keep this in your mind. You can't be lackadaisical and get lulled to sleep. You know, it kind of reminds me of this. It's a certain animal, right? I'm gonna go into it real quick. I think it's called the angelfish, if I'm not mistaken. The angelfish, right? No, it's not called the angelfish. What is it called? What is it called? It's called the let me see, what fish has a light on its head right here? Anglerfish. It's called the anglerfish. Look at this. Look at this. This is a real life creature, y'all. Well, hold on. That one. Let me get. I think that's like Finding Nemo. Hold on one second. Bam. Here it is right here. See this? The actual size of an anglerfish. Look how it looks, y'all. Look how the anglerfish looks. Right? Look at this on his head. That's a little light. And it lulls people to sleep in the dark. In the deep, dark depth of the sea. Look at this. See these depiction? Has that light on his head. Right? And that light is in pure darkness. So it's a lull. It attracts the other fish. And then when they get close, he damn eats them. Right? We don't want to be lulled to sleep by wickedness. And look, I get it. I get it. I get it. It's wickedness all around us. You can't go outside. You can't turn on the TV. You can't go to the place of employment. You can't go to work. You can't go anywhere without seeing wickedness, right? You gotta protect your children. You gotta protect your wife. You gotta protect your spirit. You know? It's high time to wake up out of that sleep. The night is far spent. All right? Let's get back to this Isaiah. Blessed is the man that doeth this, right? Justice and judgment. And the Son of Man that layeth hold on it, that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and keepeth his hands from doing any evil. Now, in order to keep your hands from doing any evil, in order to not pollute the Sabbath, this is furthermore doubling down, because the Shabbat was only given to the children of Israel. Only given to the children of Israel, right? We know the Shabbat, the ordinances weren't given to any other nation. All right? Now look, peep this. When you think about it, and you think about the laws, statutes, the commandments on justice, judgment, even rendering, being able to redeem your brothers and sisters from servitude, buying them out of that lifestyle of confusion. Just because the Most High woke you up in His truth doesn't mean that you should turn your back on your brothers and sisters that are still in darkness. That's why we go out to the highways and byways. That's why we do these lives, right? If you could be used on the right-hand side to save one person, by Shema Mashiach, one like O.F.I, it says this joy in heaven, right? It's joy in heaven over one sinner that repents and turns from their wicked ways, right? So we're going to get Leviticus 23 and 35. Leviticus 23 and 35. Damn. On the first day shall be a holy convocation, right? I want, my bad. I want Leviticus 25. 25. Bam. Leviticus 25 and 47. I'm actually going to start up. Moreover, if the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession. And ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen forever. But over your brethren, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with rigor. And if a sojourner or a stranger wax rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth by him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him. So this is what it means about justice and judgment. We have to be in the spirit of Yahushua to be able to redeem our brothers and sisters who are still in darkness. Now, what does that go into? You may redeem a brother and sister through knowledge. You may redeem a brother and sister through strong rebuke. You may redeem a brother and sister through being that mighty example in which through encouragement to uplift them. It's many ways to redeem. But this is a part of keeping the judgment and the justice that the Most High God has commanded us to do as the children of Israel, right? And when you think about that, the other nations do this all the time. On a carnal level, they might have a certain business that's going out of business, right? And you know, the small hats in these other communities, they'll get together and they'll kind of pitch in to get them out of debt. You know, they may be about to lose their home, about to lose their car, and this is on a carnal level. They redeem their brothers and their sisters because the other nations have love for one another. But the love that they have for one another, they learn these truths and these statutes and things from following the ways that we're supposed to follow. And I'm chiefly talking about the small hats, the so-called Jewish man, woman, and child, you know? And you know what? And it's one of those things where it's sad to say because we understand we're under the curses, but looking at it is like they've made our culture their norm in some ways. Now, hear me out when I say this. Here we are supposed to be doing judgment and justice to our brothers and sisters, but the other nations have made those tenets of our heritage their normality, right? And we gotta get back in our bag. We gotta get back to keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. We gotta get back to having the understanding that these things are not optional. Like this is not optional. This is what we must do, what we have to do. So that goes into redeeming your brothers and sisters, doing justice and judgment, right? Let me get this Isaiah 56. Bear with me. So we breaking down Isaiah the 56th chapter. Neither let thy son, the son of the stranger, that have joined themselves to the Lord, speak, saying, the Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree. So we just went into this, right? Now, these sons of the stranger, as we know, is not going into the heathen. It's going into the outcast of Israel. Just how we just read in Leviticus 25. The outcast of Israel, those Israelites who might have been sold out, been sold because of they were waxing poor, right? They may be under the bondage of the heathen. And through the spirit nowadays, that bondage may go into false doctrine, other religions, other ideologies, you know, having a mindset according to the world, you know, being in the nigga spirit, the nigga mind, right? YN, hot girl summer. All of those things are being sold into the bondage, into the captivity, into the oppression of the other nation. Because oppression, you got to realize this, oppression is not just something physical. It's a mind frame. It's a condition of thought. It's your thought process. You could be very well free without chains, but still got shackles on your brain. So when it goes into this, even when it says the eunuch say, behold, I am a dry tree, right? Now, when you think about a eunuch, it goes into somebody being castrated. Let's get this. Let's get this real quick. Eunuch, right here. Neither let the eunuch say. So eunuch, a eunuch, valet, a minister of a state. All right, the Strong's, a chamberlain, a eunuch, an officer. From the unused root meaning to castrate. A eunuch by implication. Valet, especially of the female apartments. And thus a minister of state, a chamberlain, a eunuch. Now when you go into these eunuchs, it goes into a castrated man. It's from the, the testicles. Cut them off. A lot of that went into, when you think about a chamberlain, you had certain residences that were full of women. And chiefly when you go into the various kings and things, they would have eunuchs who would be over the house of the women. And they would castrate them to make sure that the eunuch didn't have sexual relations with the particular women, you know, that were already dedicated, let's say, to the king, right? So this is also going into the spirit of bastard, right? Now, when you think about the traditional word of a bastard, born out of fornication, that's not the biblical definition. Let's get this, Deuteronomy 23:2. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even, right? Even goes into like especially, even, 1 second, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Now, this isn't talking about, uh, you know, the modern day. Let me get this real quick. I'm going to show y'all this modern day definition. Bastard. Think about bastard. It says an unpleasant or despicable person. He lied to me, the bastard. That's not in, look, they didn't even change the definition of a bastard. So traditionally, they say a child born out of fornication, right? Out of wedlock. That's what the traditional definition of a bastard is. And I'm surprised. Oh, here, a person born of unmarried parents, an illegitimate child. All right. So that's what they have the definition of a bastard as. But when you go into this context here, this is actually talking about a mamzer, a bastard, right? Someone, when you go into this right here, bastard. See, mamzer. Now, Strong's actually has it wrong here. It says actually, this is right here. A child of incest. But where it says right here, a mongrel born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother, that's not the true definition. We reject that definition. It is more going into a child of incest, a bastard. So a bastard cannot enter into the congregation of Yahweh. So this is further going to tell you that this isn't talking about, when we go back into that Isaiah 56, that son of the stranger. It's not talking about someone of the other nation, because even Moab, we know, and Ammon, they're bastards, children of incest. Lot's daughters got him drunk and slept with him. And their generations are bastards, right? So we know they can't enter into the congregation of Yahweh. So we know salvation is definitely not for them. And when it says the 10th generation shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, some people stop right here and they say, well, look, that just means 10 generations. But let's go to the next verse. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of Yahweh forever. So you see that, right? A bastard can't enter into the congregation. So salvation can't be talking about them, right? So this just shows, in terms of the context of Isaiah 56, that was going into different contexts of, let me get this really quick, contexts of different Israelites that were scattered and that weren't able to be a part of the congregation, right? Let's go to Isaiah. Now, let's get Wisdom of Solomon. I want 3 and 11. We got the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 11. For whoso despises wisdom in nature, he is miserable, and their hope is vain. Their labor is unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. Their wives are foolish, and their children are wicked. Their offspring is cursed, right? Their offspring is cursed. It says, their offspring is cursed. Wherefore blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which hath not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit in the visitation of clothes, right? And blessed is the eunuch, which with his hands have wrought no iniquity, nor imagine wicked things against Yahweh. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith. See, faith is a special gift. And an inheritance in the temple of the Lord more acceptable to his mind. So this is why it's going into saying, hey, neither shall the eunuch say, I am a dry tree. Because even, and I believe this is in the book of Sirach, it says, basically better is to have one child or no child than, I got to get this precept, unruly brood of unprofitable children. I believe that's what it says. Let me get this of unrighteous children. So the eunuch shouldn't be saying, hey, look, I'm a dry tree, right? It's Sirach, the 22nd chapter, I believe. One second. Is this what I'm looking for? That's not what I'm looking for. But you know, I'll drop it. I'll drop it in the chat, Lord willing. We're moving on. And blessed is the eunuch. Now remember what we just read. The eunuch should not say, I'm a dry tree. Basically being salty and being condemning himself because he's a eunuch. And blessed is the eunuch, which with his hand hath wrought no iniquity, nor imagine wicked things against Yahweh. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith, and an inheritance in the temple of the Lord more acceptable to his mind. And you don't want to get caught up. You know, every man wants sons. I'm led to believe. Well, you want those heirs. But hey, if the Most High didn't give you a son, and you don't want to get caught up in thinking that you're worth it, right? You know, or if you have a relationship with your sons, or you don't have a relationship with your sons, and you're learning to do that reconnection, you gotta wait on Yahweh, because Yahweh will bring all things into order, right? For glorious is the fruit, for glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fall away. Now notice in this context, when it's saying the fruit is also going into your seed. So it's saying, although the eunuch does not have a seed to bring forth, his seed that he's bringing forth, good fruit, is his good labor in the Lord. As for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection, and the seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. For though they live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. Or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. And we know that day of trial is the day of the Most High sending back his son, Yahweh Shai, to wreak havoc on the earth to all of the disobedient, to the other nations, right? So you don't want to get caught up in that mind frame. And you might be a modern day eunuch. You know, it might be a situation where you may have a certain type of what do they call it? Birth defect, right? It may be a situation where you went through something, and you know, it might have been a traumatic situation, right? Where you know, your so-called manhood, you know, might have been affected. There's a lot of different things that can happen in terms of, you know, in life. So you don't want to be discouraged in thinking that just because you have certain physical ailments that you're not able to serve the Most High God, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, right? You want to have that mind towards the Most High God, that, you know, no matter what you got to go through to get the kingdom, we got to do all we got to do to get the kingdom. Moving on, right? Let's go to the book of, let's get back into Isaiah. Let's get back to this Isaiah. Bam, let's move on. So verse 5. Even unto them will I give in my house, and within my walls a place, and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. So, even when you think about sons and daughters and lineages and things, right? You could have a mighty household, let's say, for an example. And all it takes is one bad seed to chop your whole name down, to chop your whole memorial down. And we see this all of the time. You might have that a mighty, let's say in a carnal level, it may be a long line of prosperity according to the world, right? And you got that one knucklehead son, you got that one disobedient daughter that gets the inheritance and squanders it all. And now all your hard work is for naught. And matter of fact, Solomon was teaching on that in the book of Ecclesiastes, right? Let me get this. One second. This is what Solomon was teaching in the book of Ecclesiastes, the 13th chapter, right? One second. Let me get this exact verse. Let me get this. No, it's Ecclesiastes, the 2nd chapter I'm looking for. Damn, I'm gonna get this in the NLT actually. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2 and verse 9. It says, and this is in the NLT. And who can tell whether my successors will be wise or foolish? Yet they will control everything I have gained by my skill and hard work under the sun. How meaningful. Think about that. So when the Most High says, I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off, that means something. It's the Most High giving you the fruits of your labor in righteousness. Because a lot of us, even myself, like my particular situation, before I was married in righteousness, right? Before I came into this truth, I had 2 children that aren't with the wife of my youth, right? And from that perspective, they're 2 sons. And they actually carried my last name at one point in time, right? They carried my last name. But now, in the current situation that I'm in, right? One of my sons is 20 years old. The other son, my second oldest son is a senior in high school. And we literally had a discussion like, look, you have your mother's last name, but that's carrying on the bloodline, the seed line of her family's name. That's not carrying on my family. So what you gonna do, son? You got a decision to make. You gonna carry on that name, or you gonna change your name to my last name and carry on your actual seed line? So we understand of wanting to have your offspring, right? We wanting to have your generations carry on your seed line. But the Most High said, I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off, right? I'm going to get this other quick precept in the book of Revelation, right? Where we will get a new name. You follow what I'm saying? Think about that, right? It's the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 17. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in that stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it. Now that's so deep to break down, So although we strive for temporal things on this earth, this is the name that we want written. Hey, we want the name of Yahweh written in our forehead, right? Right? That's what we want. Let me get this. Salaki. Let me get this Revelation 22. This is what we want. This is the name that we want marked on us. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their forehead. Right? That's what we want. No more curses. We want to sit and worship Yahweh by Shema Mashiach, Womalak Yahweh, before the throne. So don't get caught up in things that are vain and vanity, because everything that we have here is going to pass away. All right? Your family name, your flesh, your worldly possessions, your reputation, all of now. I'm not saying don't strive for a blameless name, right? It says, hey, you rather a good name than the choice gold of Ophir. Let me get this real quick. Than the gold of Ophir, we learned that in Proverbs. You rather a good name. So I'm not saying that a good name isn't to be desired. That's not what I'm saying. The book of Proverbs, chapter 22 and verse 1. A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. Well, it's levels to that name, right? That's a good name according to, your reputation, your honor, your integrity, right? And those type of things. And integrity is not an easy thing to obtain, y'all. You got to strive for that mastery in order to be integral, to maintain your integrity, right? It's not a thing where it just comes by some easy type of happenstance. You actually have to put in work, day in, day out. You got to check your thoughts. You got to recheck your thoughts, right? You have to really examine yourself. You got to put yourself under a microscope in order to be integral. It's Lord willing, it will be a natural thing in the sense of when we have the new commandment and the new covenant, when we're in the new covenant fully, and the laws are written in our inward part, and we won't be able to stand pursuant to Jeremiah 31, Hebrews 8 and 8, right? But right now, you got to strive for the master, to get that good name. Let's read on. Verse 6. Also the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord, to serve him, and to love the name of the Lord, to be his servant. Everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. Now, we went into this a little bit earlier. This isn't talking about the heathen. This goes back to that Leviticus 25, 23 and 47, and so forth and so on. The sons of the strangers, the outcast of Israel, right? I want to get this real quick precept in 2 Corinthians, I believe. I'm looking for Salakia. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Oh, Salakia. This right here in Isaiah 56. Let me read up a couple verses. This gives you the context. Even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon my altar. For my house shall be called the house of prayer for all people. Now that's correct. We don't get tripped up on this. My house shall be called a house of prayer for all people, because you got to understand, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess, right? Everybody's gonna have to worship Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. We serve the get down or lay down God, right? It's not optional. It's not a damn multiple choice test where you're gonna get to pick in the kingdom who you want to serve. Well, let me see. I want to serve Buddha today. Tomorrow I want to serve Milcom. The next day I want to serve Allah. After that, I'm then going to serve Shiva, then Brahma, then Kadesh. Then I'm going to go back to serve the ancestral gods of spiritual. It's not going down like that, right? Everybody's going to have to serve a Mashiach woman like Yahweh, right? through Yahweh Shai, chiefly in the Israelites rulership, right? So, what did I want to get? Hold on. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Matthew 21 and 12. Matthew 21 and 12 is what I'm actually looking for, right? Let me get that Matthew 21 and 12. Bam. Book of Matthew, chapter 21, verse 12. And Yahweh Shai went into the temple of God and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves, and said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. So when you think about the Israelites in Isaiah 56 that are called strangers, right? And when you think about the book of Hosea, right? When you think about the outcast of Israel, when you think about when you go in Isaiah 56 in the next verse, in verse number 8, the Lord God which gathereth the outcast of Israel saith, Yet will I gather others to him, besides those that are gathered unto him. Now, people go into this and they be like, well, dang, what does this mean? Is this saying that the Most High God is going to gather all the other nations into him, and they're going to be his people now, and they're going to be chosen as well? No, that's not what this is going into. This is going into the outcast of Israel. There's two contexts of the outcast of Israel. You have the northern kingdom, who are cast out into idolatry, right? You have even the southern kingdom in our brothers and sisters today who are in false doctrines, who don't know that they're Israel. The Most High is going to raise them up and is going to gather them back unto himself, right? Through the process of time as these various prophecies unfold. And that's comforting, y'all. That should be so comforting to you to know that the Most High God is going to gather you, right? Is going to put you back in a place of rulership. Is going to put your mind back to its original state, right? These things, man, it's just so comforting, because right now our minds are in such a state of disarray, right? Confusion, anxiety sets in. You got damn bills due. You can't even take the proper time that you need to reflect and get into the precepts how you really want to. It's a lot of different obstacles that hinder and limit you from being righteous right now. That doesn't mean you can't obtain perfection by Shem Yahweh Shai. That's why I'm going to bring out this precept real quick, because it keeps coming to my mind, right? And Paul made a very, very, like the 2 Timothy 2 and 5, and it talks about mastery. And if a man also strive for mastery, yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully. So just because we have all of these different things to overcome, these challenges, these struggles, and so forth and so on, you got to strive for the mastery. You got to strive, you got to strive, you got to strive until you obtain that crown, right? Until you obtain that salvation. So with that, we want to give all glory, praise, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach, woman like Yahweh Shai, his only begotten son. To the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. You know, we do know as well that this is the new moon. So tomorrow, early on, I'm going to try to go ahead and get back into this and finish up in terms of the deep breakdown, part 2, Isaiah 56. Kwam Yasha.